Hello, and welcome back to What We Pod in the Shadows, where we are currently discussing season 4 of What We Do in the Shadows. I'm Raven.
And I'm Alison.
This week we are discussing the episode The Lamp. But before we get into that, just a reminder too, if you haven't already, to subscribe/follow the podcast and leave us a comment or a review. It would be really helpful to get us out there and get more visibility, and you leave a review, we might read it on the podcast.
You can check us out on our other podcast, Mojo Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, where we are alternating between discussing seasons of the classic Powerpuff Girls and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And we're currently discussing the second half of Stardust Crusaders on JoJo. So if you'd like to hear us talk about some animated shows, that would be the place to go.
And sometimes we even talk about the vampires over there too.
Okay, so we're on season 4, episode 2, The Lamp. The guide doesn't want the vampiric headquarters renovated into a nightclub. Nadja has hired workers, but the guide says the wraiths can undo anything they do. Nandor continues his search for a bride. He has been visiting with a woman at a dog park and asks her to come back to his mansion and examine the massive dowry he has in the basement, which is not weird at all. He says modern women are interested in such things. He has kept this dowry secret, but Guillermo walks in. Nadja is upset. She's hired all these workers, and there's been no progress. Laszlo watches a home renovation show on his laptop with a few of them. They discuss shiplap, which was kind of popular there for a while, and now people are currently removing their shiplap.
It's ugly as hell. I wouldn't have gotten it in the first place. Nadja decides to trick the guide in order to get work done. She tells her that the Vampiric Council in England find the Vampiric Council on Staten Island to be boring and outdated, and that they'd be better off leasing the building out as a CVS. Nadja also makes her think a specific vampire who's called the Devourer of Underlings has beef with the guide. And so then the guide feels intimidated and calls on the wraiths to help Nadja and co. with the renovations. Guillermo helps Nandor go through his treasure, and Guillermo picks up a gin lamp. Nandor says gins aren't real because he spent his youth rubbing lamps and never found one, but Guillermo suggests maybe he was rubbing them the wrong direction this whole time. Nandor thinks this is silly, but a gin does indeed appear after he rubs the lamp in the opposite direction. And the gin, basically, he just looks like a regular guy in a suit, and maybe he's like an accountant or a lawyer or something.
The guide gathers all the many wraiths and tells them to now help with the renovations, but they grab a worker and eat him. So they don't just drain his blood, he's gone. The guide confesses her heart isn't in the renovation, and Laszlo says he thinks he can cure her. Then he tells about how he learned about psychology and how he hung out with the original fathers of psychology. I couldn't think of all of them, like Freud, etc. The djinn can grant 52 wishes, which is crazy, but Nandor keeps using them for easy, dumb tasks. Sometimes just asking his question. Or answering his questions, the djinn will be like, is that what you wish me to answer? And then Nandor is just easily tricked into it. Nandor wants to find love from among his 37 wives, some of whom were men. Nandor wishes them all brought back to life because he doesn't remember whom he loved the most, and then wishes they speak English. He begs Guillermo set them up with accommodations in the attic. Laszlo begins his psychoanalysis of the guide. She has worked at that building for hundreds of years and feels what it feels. She fears change and may have OCD. Just because you said something about that. I forget what exactly she was doing then, but I kind of agreed with it.
Yeah, I think it was her doing something repetitive,
Oh, she was she'd go over and knock or something 3 times and...
Yeah, or she would open and close the door or something like that. And I'm like, that very much sounds like OCD to me. It's like she has like some sort of like checking compulsions or something. Which I do feel like, they have that thing where the vampires, like if you spill the grains of rice in front of them, like they have to stop and count them all. I'm like, that always has felt very OCD coded to me.
Yeah.
Laszlo seems to be bored that the changes the guide feels with the building are not sexual in nature, but seems to be giving her a lot of anxiety. Guillermo has to bring Uber Eats home for all of Nandor's spouses. Nandor has already gotten rid of 5 of them by having the djinn make them dead again when he realizes they're not what he's looking for. And basically he just has them, go to the djinn and, I'm like, oh, Nandor said you would give me a gold coin or something, and then he would just touch him on the forehead and they turn into dust. Guillermo says that sounds like a murder, but Nandor's adamant that it is not. The guide has been the guide for so long that she doesn't remember who she was before working for the Vampiric Council. Laszlo wants to hypnotize her to remember her past.
Okay, so once she's hypnotized, he tries to have the guide walk down a corridor of her mind, but finds out little at first because it's like the different rooms are like really boring, like conversation starters, or it'll be like just storage, and then she opens the door and it's like just a room full of boxes or whatever. Like there's no useful information. Guillermo has a conversation on the phone that leads one to believe he may be in a relationship. And he kind of says things are going well for him or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if we learn more about that or not. And I just call them they're part of Nandor's harem. The ladies in the harem think Guillermo is non-threatening and a eunuch, which he does not like. There's a door in the guide's mind that says, "Shame, do not open." She pictures naked Guillermo trying to open that door when she herself cannot. Nandor is spending one-on-one time with his male and female wives and rejects them one by one for petty, simple things he finds wrong with them. He wrestles with one of the men. He beats Nandor. And he's like, well, my favorite one would not have beat
me. Yeah.
That type of thing. Or one of them's a chatterbox. That type of stuff. One he chases with a live lobster until she gets hit by a semi-truck. So she's very frightened and he thinks it's adorable. She runs out in the street. Nandor is down to 7 wives now, and him and Guillermo look for baby Colin in the basement. Guillermo is irritated with having to care for the harem and that he's missed a lot of time with his own family all these years, which is understandable. I think he said he missed his mom's birthday the last 3 years in a row. And Nandor isn't very sympathetic. They almost never are. They don't care.
Yeah. He said he wasn't, sleeping very well, also. And then, baby Colin was, down in the basement. He was, trying to, knock holes in the wall of, original Colin's old room.
Yes. Yeah, I think he had, a big hammer or something.
The guide realizes that this isn't her job. It's a punishment for all the debauchery she got up to as a younger vampire, which included having a sexual relationship with Van Helsing.
Also, she said she led the Inquisition.
She lusts after Guillermo because he is one of Van Helsing's descendants. The other vampires bribe Guillermo to go on a date or hook up with the guide so that she'll let them continue renovations on the council headquarters, and he agrees if they'll let him be the accountant for the nightclub. He tries to seduce the guide, but she realizes that she just wants to be friends with Guillermo. And then she's super stoked all of a sudden about the nightclub, and then she's busting up all these columns and pillars down there. And then Laszlo decides that this means she's cured. Nandor finally narrows down his wives to Marwa, who seems to be very into science and astronomy. Nandor uses more of his wishes to alter her into becoming the perfect wife, mainly by changing her hair color.
Maybe he could have just asked for that as a wish.
Yeah.
Because he probably used up all his wishes. I can't remember. I'm sure he comes to it here soon. I'm sure the genie could have just picked the one he found most attractive. And whether she was a chatterbox or could beat him at wrestling, the genie could have probably made her into his perfect wife. But I don't know. I don't even think, well, I guess maybe they haven't largely been at home, but like, were Laszlo and Nadja even like annoyed that all of these wives and.
I don't think they interacted with Nandor and Guillermo for most of the episode because it was mostly just about like trying to convince the guide to let him do renovations.
I guess, but they had to come home to sleep. I'm surprised they didn't get upset with all the crazy humans running around.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, won't each of them be able to have 52 wishes? I forget. I know there has to be some reason that comes to an end, but.
Yeah. I mean, I would think. I mean, I'm assuming the rules with the djinn might be like different than like the genie in Aladdin. But like, when Jafar got the lamp from Aladdin, Aladdin still had like a wish or two left. But then because Jafar got his hands on it, the genie had to do his bidding first.
Well, I guess whoever has it, but I would think like once Nandor uses up all of his, like, I don't know. I don't know how it works. It does belong technically to Nandor. It was in his dowry or whatever, so.
His treasure. Maybe he has more lamps in there, and because he rubbed them in the incorrect direction, maybe they all had some djinn in there.
He just missed them because nothing ever came out.
Yeah. He could have hundreds of wishes waiting for him.
I think he doesn't have any besides that one. I guess that kind of makes sense for the guide that's her punishment because she just seems like she's kind of stuck in that building.
Yeah. Yeah, basically all she does is like about being like the caretaker of the headquarters.
And then maybe that makes sense too. Like every time they kind of get a upgrade, that she's kind of jealous that nobody looked at her, and it's because she's not really like, it's not like she was appointed to that.
Yeah.
It's a punishment. Maybe Nandor should have kept like he had 37. And I get he finds some of them annoying. And I think he's going by like the modern standards to just have a wife. Maybe he should have kept like a handful of them that he liked the best. Since he does like he can live forever. I don't know. I just don't know if like she will like living in modern times.
Yeah.
And like be interested in the same things that he is. It's just kind of like she was the only one left. It wasn't really that he chose her exactly.
Yeah, it was pretty much just like by default. He's like, I guess Marwa will do.
Yeah. Yeah, I would. Well, I mean, I get that Guillermo knows that he has the djinn, but Laszlo and Nadja were busy with the nightclub thing, but I would think they would be very interested in wishes and a djinn.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they're doing the whole nightclub thing to make money. Like, a couple of, they could wish for a ton of money. They could wish for the nightclub to be renovated and not have to spend the money.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people would be very excited to get a bunch of free wishes.
Nandor is just not really thinking about it well.
Yeah.
I think he should have maybe even just like, if he sat down with Guillermo and listened a little bit better, he wouldn't have used up so many wishes. And like, maybe they could have even made a list of all of the wives and like the pros and cons, that they could have narrowed it down.
Yeah, and so he's being like super impulsive because he doesn't actually know who or what he wants.
Well, yeah, he didn't know to start with which one. He couldn't remember their names. At least the genie didn't bring them back like as zombies or whatever.
Yeah, I thought about that at first too. I mean, of course he didn't, but I'm like, that seems like some shit like a genie would do.
Yeah.
I guess I was just gonna say it is kind of fun when they'll have like an episode and they'll be like, Laszlo's like, oh, I used to do this thing back in the day, but he's kind of like really shitty at it because that was like during like the creation of that thing and there's like so many advances and shit. It's like, yes, I knew all about psychology and I helped Sigmund Freud.
Yeah. He did what? Steam baths or something with him, or I don't know. There was like a series of weird stuff. Yeah, I mean, in this case, I mean, other than him trying to turn everything sexual, which I think is what Freud did, so
yeah,
it wasn't super annoying that he was doing it. in this case. And sometimes Laszlo can be kind of annoying, but it worked in this case, what he was doing. And I mean, the guide she went along with it, so not like he was trying to psychoanalyze someone who was like, no.
Yeah.
Don't do that. It was okay.
It's like, I'll be your therapist for free.
Like, them having a nightclub, I guess I don't really care one way or the other. It could be fun, but I just don't really. That vampiric headquarters is like pretty cool, like the library, and like the museum section with all the artifacts. So I'm not super excited about them like tearing it apart.
Yeah, it's like all the vampiric records of history. Don't do that. Don't wreck that stuff. And they could like, I don't know, they could try to turn it into more of a museum and then like have like vampires like tour it and stuff for like a fee.
Yeah. Or I mean, because like it seems like there's just big rooms in there that are almost like empty.
Yeah.
Why can't they just turn one of those into the nightclub or like move the stuff into there or something? Like the room where she was breaking up at the end with the sledgehammer, all the big pillars.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be fine if they just turn that into the nightclub and leave the other stuff alone. And I mean, I think it is a building with several levels. I don't know if they can use all the levels.
Yeah. They at least have like some underground parts of it.
Yeah, I think it's a bad idea to tear it up. And it's kind of like been the guide's like life's work.
Yeah.
So I can kind of understand all of it. Like
I would lose my shit.
Whether she was having like where she kind of forgot who she was, I could still kind of understand where she's like, please don't do this.
Yeah.
Or Nadja could have been a little more understanding about it. Like, yeah, this library is a treasure. The artifacts are a treasure. Like you said, come up with a way to kind of make it like an attraction.
Yeah. She's much like Nandor. She's also being very impatient and just having a one-track mind this episode.
I would think even Laszlo would love both those things, the library and the artifacts. So I hope they do kind of say what they do with it. I know Nadja was telling her to pack the books up because they're going to have a blood fountain.
And I have blood sprinklers.
Oh, yeah, something like yeah, like gonna get up over the books or whatever.
And also, I feel kind of bad for Marwa. She seems like she's very into like science and shit, and just like Nandor doesn't actually care.
I feel like mostly Nandor's hobbies is just like exercise.
Pretty much. Like sparring.
Yeah. And she might hit it off with Laszlo since he likes to do experiments. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know he brought them back, maybe from the time, like in that he had that tapestry or whatever of all of them or a painting. Yeah. But that they weren't a little bit more confused.
Indeed.
About where they were. I don't know, maybe they're just supposed to stay with Nandor because they're married to him and he's Nandor the Relentless or whatever, but no, they didn't really go places for them to be like, oh, look, cars, and they don't have a lot of like modern inventions in the house. Yeah. Not super modern, but I mean, some of that stuff was probably even like, holy shit to them. Yeah. Like even like an old timey record player or something. Yeah, because Nandor's been like a vampire for like 700-ish years. Or electricity. Like, how do they even like pick something from DoorDash or whatever? Yeah. And they're just gonna be like, let's go to the mall. And they're just gonna be so overwhelmed by all the sights and sounds. Yeah. And the loud ass music they always play. I guess we are going to end our conversation here. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Again, if you haven't already, hit those follow/subscribe buttons and leave us a comment or review, depending on what platform you're listening to this on. Smash all those buttons for us, and don't forget about Mojo Jojo's Bizarre Adventure.
And next week, we will talk about the next episode, which is called The Grand Opening. So make sure to watch that before the next episode of the podcast comes out so we don't spoil it for you. So until next time, remember, you're dead and out of this world. Goodbye.
Goodbye.